Here a taverna that you can still fill your drinking bottle up with safe water, and next to it a cistern. Little back canal ambience. People have developed some kind of a relationship and strung their clotheslines on pulleys. A pretty little side alley, apparently going to a church. Notice how the plumbing in some way creates its own art. As buildings are modified for newer technologies over the century. As I walked down the same canal, I came back to the one I was on before I went to the ghetto. The view seems to change. Its character changes. Notice this building on the right. And I think it has a more than noticeable slant to the right. Hot chocolate, cappuccino. Someone with enough wealth to have a little bit of property for a backyard. And if you got to do halfway major construction, you bring your own boat with a crane and a bucket, and that bucket I think can be picked up. Yes, it can, picked up and then dumped and put back in. The character here, wide walkway, brick, and maybe marble bridge. And this bridge is interesting because it only goes to this doorway. So apparently whoever or whatever had this building had clout. This may have been an industrial building. Offices on the bottom, a warehouse on the top, although that looks, a warehouse in the middle, although that looks a little too elegant for a warehouse. But notice the door and those hardware for pulling stuff up, and then houses, residences up on top. How cool. With the sun, facing the sun. Little door opener handle. Making the next turn. These look like old elegant homes, and probably still are. Seems like such a pretty city to live in. Kind of like Florence to the max. Concentrated like saccharin. But would it taste bitter after time like saccharin? Maybe if I had enough money left over and enough incentive to be here in the first place, I could just use this as a point of travel, except that travel is not the only thing I do. This entryway looks like it might actually get used. A church, not with much interesting design. So I'm now at the T-junction of two canals. And this is the canal that I just walked down, so now I'll try and figure out where I am. There, an elegant old building. It probably was one of the palaces, although they couldn't call it a palace. Only the Doge could call his hangout a palace. And here a church. Very simple church. Okay, in case you're interested, we have walked. Here's where we were at the Ghetto Plaza, and we walked over here, and then back over this bridge back onto Fondamenta, whatever that is, or Mancini, down here to Fondamenta della Misericordia. If you think I know what I'm talking about, you're nuts. Where I'm actually standing is right up here a little bit further. Right on this spot right in the middle of my fingernail. And that little diamond-shaped thing, this is the flat end of that diamond-shaped deal. And there's the bridge. And to the right is the canal we just walked up. Now this canal that I'm looking at runs along the back of this big church, and it runs parallel to the canal we just walked along. There appear to be two churches here, unless they're all one. But this one a rather elegant front to it. Its own cistern. The police just went down here, and there's our EMP boat. This corner can give you a pretty good feel of how much of all of this is really canals. Even elegant building. Even there, two canals running fairly close together and splitting apart. So the plan that's kind of evolving in my mind is I'm just going to work my way around through these areas and over to San Marcos Square, the famous place. And then when I get tired of circumventing like this, I will work my way back to my hostel, which is over here. Here's the railroad station where you come in. Here a bridge that serves just as house. And here another little bridge that serves those 2 or 3 homes by narrow walkways, cantilevered off the bottom of the building. And that little canal is the one that goes on the other side of that diamond that we were looking at. This was probably a merchant street. Don't know for sure. You'll see some hints. Notice how the remains of the building are buttressed up in whatever way they can. But here behind this one, this door here is a shop. And these arches that are closed in probably were open and used in the same fashion. And again, the lower part might have been the entry warehousing area, and workspace, and up above may have been where they conducted business and maybe residences. Remember, this was principally a trading city. Slightly more elegant designed bridge. This is one of just a few 4 or 5 churches that actually front on a canal, for whatever significance that has. I wonder if that large rose window were filled once with a beautiful stained glass. Interesting is when you look at these entranceways, the stairs that you would have to step onto from today's boats are way inside the wall. I can only imagine that either the buildings were higher or the water level was lower in order for a boat to pull up sideways, unless there were a way for you to easily hop off the front of the boat. This is quaint and interesting because it's such a narrow, obvious building. Beautiful decoration, but just wedged in between these other buildings. A larger, more elegant bridge, and I think this is the main drag of pedestrian walkways, if you will. And then I think that sign in there indicates that it's going to the Rialto Bridge, so we'll continue. We've just lost our intimacy, though it's easily regained by going off the main drag again. So we've just wandered down from that diamond-shaped island all the way down here to what is in this area called Strada Nuovo, and it looks like the main drag, and we'll just follow that around here to Rialto so we can see the bridge, and then I'll come back and go down here somewhere. So we'll be going in this direction, clearly the tourist area, even though it's the main drag for here, but indicated if nothing else by this lush business here of perfumes, which stopped me cold when I walked by. I had to go back in and smell it. It's just this intense bunch of aromas.